The vast expanse of space stretched before Admiral Elena Reyes as she stood on the bridge of the UES Defiant, Earth's flagship. Her weathered face, etched with lines of experience, reflected the weight of her responsibility. Humanity had finally taken its place among the stars, joining the Galactic Council after centuries of technological advancement and interstellar exploration. For decades, the Council had guided humanity's integration into the galactic community. They shared knowledge, facilitated trade, and promised protection. Earth flourished under this new paradigm, its cities reaching towards the stars, its colonies spreading across nearby systems. Admiral Reyes had been at the forefront of this expansion, overseeing the growth of Earth's defensive fleet. But today, something felt off. The Council had summoned Earth's leadership to an emergency session, citing a grave threat to galactic stability. As the Defiant approached the massive space station that served as the Council's seat of power, Reyes couldn't shake a sense of foreboding. The Council chambers were a marvel of alien architecture, a soaring dome of crystalline material that seemed to capture the very essence of deep space. Representatives from a dozen species filled the tiered seating, their forms as varied as the stars themselves. At the center, the 5 elder races that formed the Council's core sat in judgment. High Counselor Zixthar, a being of shimmering energy barely contained within a humanoid form, called the session to order. Esteemed colleagues, we face a crisis unlike any in our history. A force of unimaginable power approaches from the galactic core, consuming all in its path. Holographic displays flickered to life, showing the aftermath of devastated worlds. Reyes felt her blood run cold as the magnitude of the threat became clear. But it was the Council's next words that truly chilled her to the bone. "We have deliberated long and hard," Zixthar continued, its voice resonating with false sympathy. "And we have concluded that to preserve the greater galactic community, sacrifices must be made. The human systems will serve as a buffer, buying us time to mount a proper defense." Shock rippled through the human delegation. Ambassador Chen leaped to his feet, his face contorted with rage and disbelief. "You can't be serious. We joined this council in good faith. We've contributed, shared our resources, and now you'd sacrifice us." The other council members remained impassive, their alien features unreadable. It was clear the decision had been made long before this farce of a meeting. Raya's mind raced, calculating the odds, assessing their options. Earth's fleet was substantial, but against this new threat, and the combined might of the council races, the numbers didn't look good. As Chen continued to protest, Reyes noticed subtle movements among the council's security forces. Her combat-honed instincts screamed danger. With a barely perceptible nod to her aide, she triggered a prearranged signal. Across the chamber, human representatives began to slowly, casually move towards the exits. Zixthar's voice cut through the rising tension. "We regret this necessity, truly. But the survival of the many outweighs the needs of the few. The human systems will be quarantined, cut off from all support. It is a noble sacrifice that will be remembered for eons to come." The last vestiges of diplomacy crumbled. Chen, his face a mask of betrayal, spat out words that would echo through history. "You've made a grave mistake. Humanity won't go quietly into the night. We'll fight, and by God, we'll survive. And when we do, the galaxy will remember that it was you who betrayed us in our hour of need." As if on cue, alarms blared throughout the station. Raya's comlink crackled to life with an urgent message from the Defiant. "Admiral, we're detecting massive energy buildups. The Council fleet is powering weapons." Reyes didn't hesitate. "All personnel, emergency evac protocols. Get to your ships now." The chamber erupted into chaos as humanity's representatives fled, Council security in hot pursuit. Reyes herself covered their retreat, her sidearm barking as she laid down suppressing fire. Through it all, the Council members watched with cold detachment, as if observing an experiment rather than the betrayal of an entire species. As Reyes reached the airlock of her shuttle, she locked eyes with Zixthar one last time. In that moment, she made a silent vow. Humanity would survive this treachery. And when they did, the galaxy would tremble at their return. The shuttle blasted free from the station, weaving through suddenly hostile space. As they rendezvoused with the Defiant, Rise watched the Council station recede, now a symbol of broken trust and shattered dreams. But in its place, a new fire was kindled, the indomitable human spirit, forged in betrayal, tempered by adversity, and now burning with the fierce determination to survive against all odds. Aboard the Defiant, Rise strode onto the bridge, her voice steady despite the turmoil in her heart. Set course for Earth, maximum speed. We need to warn our people and prepare for the fight of our lives. As the stars blurred into streaks of light, Rise allowed herself a grim smile. The Council thought they'd written humanity's epitaph. They were about to learn just how wrong they were. Rallying the home front, the Defiant dropped out of faster-than-light travel on the edge of the Sol system, its hull still bearing scorch marks from the frantic escape from the Council station. Admiral Rise stood at the command center, her face illuminated by the holographic display of Earth's defensive grid. The planet looked peaceful, unaware of the storm about to break upon it. "Admiral," her communications officer called out, "we're being hailed by Lunar Command. They're demanding an explanation for our unscheduled return." Rise took a deep breath, steeling herself for the conversation that would change humanity's fate. "Put them through," shipwide broadcast. "The whole fleet needs to hear this." The stern face of General Ibrahim appeared on the main screen, his bushy eyebrows furrowed in concern. "Admiral Rise, what in blazes is going on? We've lost all contact with the Council, and now you're back weeks ahead of schedule." "General, I need you to listen carefully," Rise began, her voice steady despite the gravity of her words. "The Galactic Council has betrayed us. They intend to sacrifice Earth and all our colonies to an approaching threat." She quickly recounted the events at the Council station, watching as Ibrahim's expression shifted from disbelief to shock, and finally to cold anger. When she finished, a heavy silence hung over the communication channel. Ibrahim broke the silence, his voice low and dangerous. "So they mean to throw us to the wolves. What's our play, Admiral?" Raya's eyes hardened. "We fight. We've got maybe a week before the Council forces reach our outer colonies. We need to mobilize everything we've got, warn our people, and prepare for a war unlike anything we've ever faced." The next hours were a whirlwind of activity. As the Defiant docked at Lunar Base, Rise found herself in a war room with Earth's top military and civilian leaders. The initial shock had given way to grim determination. President Amelia Chen, a woman known for her cool head in crisis, addressed the assembled leaders. "We always knew this day might come, that humanity would face an existential threat. We've planned, we've prepared, but now the hour is upon us. Admiral Rise, you have full authority to implement the Lazarus Protocol." A murmur ran through the room. The Lazarus Protocol was humanity's ultimate contingency plan, a series of desperate measures designed to ensure the survival of the species in the face of overwhelming odds. Rise nodded, her mind already racing with the implications. "Thank you, Madam President. We'll need to act fast. First, we evacuate as many civilians as we can to our deep space shelters and underground bunkers. Second, we activate all our sleeper ship projects. If Earth falls, some of us need to survive to carry on the fight." General Ibrahim chimed in, his holographic avatar flickering slightly. "I'll begin fortifying our outer colonies. We can't save them all, but we can bleed the bastards dry for every inch they take." As the meeting progressed, plans were made, orders given. Humanity's industrial might, honed over centuries of space exploration, was turned towards war production. Shipyards that once built exploration vessels now churned out fighters and destroyers. Civilian ships were retrofitted with weapons, every scrap of metal and drop of fuel dedicated to the coming fight. But Ray's new conventional tactics wouldn't be enough. In her quarters aboard the lunar base, she gathered a small team of Earth's brightest minds, scientists, engineers, and tactical experts. "We're outgunned and outnumbered," she told them bluntly. "But humanity has always thrived on innovation. I need ideas, anything that might give us an edge." Dr. Yuki Tanaka, a brilliant physicist, spoke up first. "We've been working on a prototype quantum entanglement communication system. If we can get it operational, it would allow instantaneous, undetectable communication across vast distances." "Perfect," Rise nodded. "That'll give us a crucial advantage in coordinating our forces. What else?" A grizzled veteran named Colonel Guerres leaned forward. "We've got mothballed tech from a dozen abandoned weapons projects. Some of it was too unstable or power-hungry for peacetime use. But desperate times call for desperate measures." Rise finished for him. "Get those projects reactivated. I want options on my desk in 48 hours. As the brainstorming session continued, Rise felt a glimmer of hope. Yes, they were facing impossible odds. Yes, they'd been betrayed by those they once called allies. But looking at the determined faces around her, she saw the best of humanity. Resilient, innovative, unwilling to go down without a fight. Outside, the lunar surface buzzed with activity. Ships launched every few minutes, carrying warnings and supplies to Earth's far-flung colonies. On the planet below, cities transformed into fortresses, and humanity's collective spirit rallied against the coming storm. Rise stood by a viewport, watching Earth rotate slowly, its blue oceans and white clouds peaceful from this distance. She allowed herself a moment of quiet reflection. The next few weeks would determine the fate of her species. Win or lose, humanity would show the galaxy what they were made of. A junior officer approached, snapping a crisp salute. "Admiral, we're receiving reports of council ships entering the Proxima Centauri system. They'll be at our doorsteps sooner than we thought." Rise nodded, her resolve hardening. "Thank you, Lieutenant. Inform all commands. Operation Defiance is now in effect. May God have mercy on us all, because the Council sure as hell won't." As klaxons began to sound across the base, signaling the start of humanity's greatest battle, Rise allowed herself a grim smile. The Council thought they'd consigned humanity to extinction. They were about to learn just how wrong they were. First contact, first blood. The tension in the UES Defiance Command Center was palpable as Admiral Rise studied the holographic display. Red dots representing Council ships swarmed at the edge of the Sol system, their numbers far greater than humanity's worst estimates. "Status report," Rise barked, her eyes never leaving the tactical display. Captain Sarah Chen, her second-in-command, responded crisply. "The Proxima Centauri colony has gone dark, ma'am. We're assuming it's been overrun. Ta Ceti is holding, but they're taking heavy losses." Rise nodded grimly. The outer colonies were buying them precious time, but at a terrible cost. "And the Lazarus Protocol?" "Proceeding as planned," Chen replied. "The first wave of sleeper ships launched successfully. They're heading for the Galactic Rim, well outside the Council's sphere of influence. A small victory, but Rise would take what she could get. Humanity's seeds were being scattered to the cosmic winds. Even if Earth fell, their species would survive." Alarms blared suddenly, cutting through the tense atmosphere. Multiple contacts. The sensor officer shouted. "Council ships decelerating from FTL. They'll be in weapons range in 10 minutes. Rise straightened, her voice steady as she addressed the fleet. "All ships, battle stations, remember your training. Remember what we're fighting for. Today, we show the Council the true mettle of humanity." As the human fleet moved to engage, Rise couldn't help but feel a surge of pride. Ships of all sizes and configurations formed up, from nimble fighters to repurposed freighters bristling with hastily mounted weapons. It wasn't pretty, but it was all they had. The first salvo from the Council ships lit up space, a dazzling display of advanced energy weapons. But humanity wasn't caught flat-footed. Swarms of autonomous drones, a last-minute addition from Dr. Tanaka's team, moved to intercept. Many were vaporized, but they absorbed enough of the barrage to give the human fleet a fighting chance. All ships, execute maneuver Theta 3. Rice commanded. The human fleet split apart in a pre-planned formation, presenting a harder target for the Council's weapons while bringing their own guns to bear. The space between Earth and Mars became a maelstrom of light and destruction. Council ships, confident in their technological superiority, pressed forward aggressively. But they soon found that humanity's desperation bred innovation. Rice watched with grim satisfaction as the first of their surprises was unleashed. A nondescript freighter, appearing crippled, drifted into the midst of a council formation. Suddenly, it erupted in a massive electromagnetic pulse, frying the systems of nearby enemy ships. EMP successful, Chen reported. Council ships in Sector 7 are dead in the water. But for every small victory, the humans paid in blood. Rice winced as she saw familiar ship names wink out on her display, knowing each represented hundreds of lives lost. The battle raged for hours, a brutal war of attrition. The Council's superior numbers and technology clashed against humanity's fierce determination and cunning tactics. Slowly but surely, the human lines began to buckle under the relentless assault. Just as it seemed the tide was turning irrevocably against them, a crackling message came through on an emergency channel. This is Colonel Guerres on Phobos Base. Package Omega is ready for delivery. Requesting authorization. Rice felt a chill run down her spine. Package Omega, the result of those abandoned weapons projects that frantically revived. It was largely untested, horrifically dangerous, and possibly their last hope. Authorization granted, Colonel. Rice responded, her voice heavy with the weight of the decision. Godspeed. Moments later, a massive railgun built into the Martian moon of Phobos roared to life. It launched a payload not much larger than a car, but containing technology that defied conventional physics. As it neared the heart of the Council fleet, it detonated. The result was beyond anything they had imagined. A localized rupture in space-time bloomed like a malevolent flower, swallowing Council ships whole. Those on the periphery were torn apart by gravitational forces, their debris adding to the chaos. For a moment, all combat ceased as both sides stared in awe at the destruction. Then, taking advantage of the confusion, Rice barked out new orders. All ships, fall back to secondary positions. Prepare for counterattack. The human fleet regrouped, battered but unbroken. The Council forces, reeling from the unexpected devastation, fell into disarray. It wasn't a victory, not yet, but it was a fighting chance. As the battle entered a lull, Rice allowed herself a moment of reflection. The cost had been staggering, the tactics desperate, but humanity had bloodied the Council's nose, proving they wouldn't go quietly into the night. Admiral, Chen's voice broke through her thoughts. We're detecting new contacts. Massive energy signatures, unlike anything we've seen from the Council. Rice felt her heart sink. Had the Council been holding back their true strength? As she opened her mouth to request more information, a new voice crackled over the comm system, alien, yet filled with unmistakable excitement. Attention, human fleet. This is Commander Zarthal of the Free Galactic Alliance. We monitored your distress calls and came as fast as we could. We stand ready to assist against the Council's treachery. For the first time since the betrayal, Rice felt a genuine smile tugging at her lips. The game had changed once again. As she prepared to respond to this unexpected ally, she knew one thing for certain. The real war was just beginning. Uneasy alliances. Admiral Rice stood in the hastily prepared conference room aboard the UES Defiant, her eyes fixed on the holographic image of Commander Zarthal. The alien's form was vaguely insectoid, with iridescent wings folded neatly behind a carapace that shimmered with bioluminescent patterns. Commander, Rice began, her voice carefully neutral. While we appreciate your timely intervention, you'll understand if we're cautious about accepting help from unknown aliens. Zarthel's mandibles clicked in what Reyes hoped was a gesture of understanding. Your wariness is justified, Admiral. The Council's betrayal has shaken the very foundations of galactic society. Many of us in the outer systems have long chafed under their rule. Your resistance has given us the opportunity we've been waiting for. Captain Chen, standing at Reyes' side, leaned in to whisper, "Ma'am, our long-range sensors confirm at least 30 ships of unknown configuration approaching. They're keeping their distance but have formed a defensive screen between us and the regrouping Council forces." Reyes nodded almost imperceptibly. It was a show of good faith, but trust would take more than that. "Commander Zarthal, I propose a face-to-face meeting. Neutral ground. We can discuss the situation and potential cooperation." The alien commander agreed readily, and within hours, a delegation from both sides met on Ceres, the dwarf planet hastily converted into a fortified base in the days following the Council's betrayal. As Reyes stepped into the meeting room, she was struck by the diversity of the Free Galactic Alliance representatives. Besides Zarthal's insectoid race, there were beings that seemed to be made of living crystal, others that floated in personal atmosphere bubbles, and some that defied easy description. "Welcome, friends," Zarthal began, his translator conveying warmth. "We represent species who, like humanity, have suffered under the Council's so-called benevolent guidance. Some of us were deemed too primitive for full membership, others too aggressive. We've watched from the shadows, building our strength, waiting for a chance to break free." Over the next few hours, a picture emerged of a galaxy far more complex and fractious than humanity had been led to believe. The Council, it seemed, had been losing its grip on power for centuries, relying increasingly on manipulation and force to maintain control. Your Defiance, another alien, a being of swirling plasma contained in a humanoid exosuit, interjected, has sparked rebellions across a dozen systems. The Council is overstretched, fighting brushfires everywhere. Reyes absorbed this information, her tactical mind already formulating strategies. "So, you're proposing an alliance to overthrow the Council?" Zarthal's wings buzzed in affirmation. "More than that, Admiral. We propose a new order for the galaxy. One of true cooperation and mutual respect, not the Council's false unity." It was an attractive offer, but Reyes had been burned once before. "And what guarantees do we have that this isn't another trap? That you won't turn on us once the Council is dealt with?" The room fell silent for a moment before one of the crystalline beings stepped forward, its faceted body refracting light in complex patterns. "We offer technology exchange, Admiral. Not just weapons, but medical advancements, FTL innovations, terraforming techniques. We bare our throats to you, trusting you'll not cut them." The implications were staggering. With access to such technology, humanity's chances of survival and eventual victory would increase exponentially. But the decision was too big for Reyes alone. "I need to confer with my government," she said finally. "But know this, whatever comes, humanity will fight to the last. We've tasted freedom among the stars, and will not go back to being earthbound." The journey back to the Defiant was tense, filled with heated debates among the human delegation. The allure of advanced alien technology warred with the sting of recent betrayal. Upon their return, Reyes immediately established a secure quantum link with the emergency human government, now operating from a hidden bunker deep beneath the Rockies. President Chen's face appeared on the screen, lined with exhaustion but eyes still sharp. "Admiral, your report." Reyes laid out the situation succinctly, presenting both the opportunities and risks of the proposed alliance. The president listened intently, occasionally asking for clarification. "It's a hell of a gamble," Chen mused when Reyes finished. "But then again, every move we make now is a gamble." She was silent for a long moment, the weight of humanity's fate heavy on her shoulders. "Very well, Admiral. You have authorization to proceed with the alliance, but on one condition. Ma'am, we share only what we must. Keep some of our innovations, like the Phobos weapon, in reserve. And Admiral, the President's gaze hardened. At the first sign of betrayal, you hit them with everything we've got. Understood. Reyes nodded grimly. Crystal clear, Madam President. With the decision made, events moved quickly. The Free Galactic Alliance ships integrated with the human fleet, their advanced shields and weapons immediately bolstering Earth's defenses. Alien engineers swarmed over damaged human vessels, repairing and upgrading with technology centuries ahead of humanity's own. But even as hope blossomed, new challenges arose. Coordinating tactics between species with wildly different thought processes proved difficult. Cultural misunderstandings led to tense moments that threatened to unravel the fragile alliance. Through it all, Reyes worked tirelessly, mediating disputes, integrating command structures, and preparing for the inevitable Council counterattack. She knew that this Galactic alliance, born of desperation and mutual need, was humanity's best hope for survival. As she stood on the Defiance observation deck, watching human and alien ships maneuver in joint exercises, Reyes allowed herself a moment of cautious optimism. The path ahead was fraught with danger, the outcome far from certain. But for the first time since the Council's betrayal, it felt like the tide might be turning. A proximity alert chimed, drawing her attention back to the present. "Admiral, to the bridge," came the urgent call over the intercom. "We're detecting a massive Council fleet entering the system. They're heading straight for Earth." Reyes straightened, her jaw set with determination. The true test of their new alliance was about to begin. As she strode towards the bridge, her mind racing with battle plans, one thought burned bright in her mind. Whatever happened next, humanity would face it standing tall, no longer alone in the vast expanse of the galaxy. The crucible of stars, the combined fleet of humanity, and the Free Galactic Alliance hung in space like a glittering tapestry, a testament to the unlikely coalition forged in the face of overwhelming odds. Admiral Reyes stood at the heart of it all, her steady gaze fixed on the tactical hologram dominating the Defiance bridge. "Council forces approaching Vector 227 by 045, the sensor officer reported, his voice taut with tension. "Estimating their numbers at, my God, over 1,000 capital ships." A ripple of unease passed through the bridge crew, but Reyes remained impassive. "Steady, people. We knew this was coming. Execute Operation Hydra." At her command, the Allied fleet began to move with practiced precision. Human ships, their hulls now shimmering with alien enhancements, formed the vanguard. Behind them, the varied vessels of the Free Galactic Alliance took up supporting positions, their exotic weapons systems humming with barely contained energy. As the Council armada drew closer, Reyes opened a channel to the entire fleet. "This is Admiral Reyes to all ships. The moment we've prepared for is upon us. Remember, we fight not just for Earth, not just for our own species, but for the freedom of all sentient beings in this galaxy. Stand fast, watch each other's backs, and show these Council bastards what happens when they underestimate the strength of unity." A chorus of affirmations rang out, some in human languages, others in alien tongues that defied easy translation. But the sentiment was universal: determination, resolve, and a fierce will to survive. The Council fleet emerged from hyperspace in a dazzling display of light and power. Their ships were sleek, uniformly designed marvels of technology that made even the enhanced human vessels look crude by comparison. At their center loomed a massive dreadnought, easily 10 times the size of the Defiant. For a moment, silence reigned across the battlefield. Then, with a flash of energy weapons that turned space itself into a canvas of destruction, the battle was joined. The initial exchange was brutal. Council weapons tore through the front lines of the Allied fleet, vaporizing smaller ships and crippling larger ones. But the Allies gave as good as they got. Human fighters, piloted with a reckless courage that astonished their alien comrades, darted between capital ships, unleashing swarms of smart missiles that confused and overwhelmed Council defenses. On the Defiance bridge, Rise coordinated the chaos with the cool efficiency of a veteran commander. Group Theta, push forward and engage their left flank. Zarthal, bring your cruisers around and hit them from below. All ships, watch for debris fields. Use them for cover. The battle raged for hours, a titanic struggle that would be remembered for generations. Heroism and sacrifice played out on a cosmic scale. A human destroyer, its engines crippled, rammed a Council battlecruiser, both ships disappearing in a blinding explosion. An alien vessel of living crystal absorbed a barrage meant for Earth's last orbital defense platform, shattering into a million glittering shards that continued to fight as autonomous units. Yet for all their valor, the Allies found themselves slowly but surely being pushed back. The Council's numbers and technological edge were grinding them down through sheer attrition. "Admiral," Captain Chen reported grimly, "we've lost 30% of our fleet. The Council is pressing hard towards Earth. At this rate, we can't hold them much longer." Reyes nodded, her mind racing. They needed a game-changer, something to tip the scales. As if in answer to her unspoken prayer, a transmission cut through the din of battle. "This is Dr. Tanaka from Lunar Base. Admiral, we've done it. Project Phoenix is operational." A surge of hope coursed through Reyes. Project Phoenix, a desperate gamble born in the crucible of war. A technology so experimental, so potentially devastating, that they had kept it hidden even from their new allies. "Understood, Doctor. Prepare for my signal." Reyes turned to her communications officer. "Get me a direct line to the Council flagship. It's time we had a chat with our old friends." Moments later, the imposing visage of High Counselor Zixthar flickered into view on the main screen. The energy being's form crackled with barely contained fury. "Admiral Reyes," Zixthar's voice boomed, dripping with disdain. "Your resistance is admirable but futile. Surrender now, and we may yet show mercy to your species." Reyes met the alien's gaze unflinchingly. "Funny, I was about to make you the same offer. This is your last chance, Counselor. Withdraw your forces or face the consequences." Zixthar's laughter was like static across the comm channel. "You're beaten, human. What could you possibly threaten us with now?" A cold smile played across Reyes' lips, something we like to call a paradigm shift. She cut the transmission and opened a secure channel to Lunar Base. "Dr. Tanaka, execute Project Phoenix. All Allied ships, enact Emergency Protocol Omega. Brace for transdimensional shift." From the surface of the moon, a pulse of energy unlike anything seen before in the galaxy erupted. It expanded outward at impossible speeds, engulfing first the Earth, then the entire battlefield. For a moment, reality itself seemed to warp and bend. When the effects subsided, the Allied fleet found itself changed. Weapons glowed with newfound power. Shields shimmered with unprecedented strength. Most incredibly, the ships themselves seemed to phase in and out of normal space, becoming maddeningly difficult targets for Council weapons. By the eternal void, Zarthal's awestruck voice came over the comm. "What have you done, Admiral?" Reyes allowed herself a grim smile. "We've evened the odds, Commander. Now, let's finish this." With their new transdimensional capabilities, the Allied fleet surged forward. Council ships that had seemed invincible mere moments ago now fell before their onslaught. The massive dreadnought at the heart of the enemy fleet, once an object of terror, now became the focus of a concentrated assault. As the tide of battle turned decisively, Reyes knew that this was more than just a victory. It was the dawn of a new era for the galaxy. Whatever happened next, the old order had been irrevocably shattered, and humanity, once dismissed as primitive upstarts, had proven themselves to be the architects of a revolution that would reshape the stars themselves. The Council's betrayal had been meant to consign humanity to oblivion. Instead, it had unleashed a force that would rewrite the very laws of the cosmos. As the remaining Council ships began to retreat in disarray, Reyes allowed herself a moment of quiet reflection. The war was far from over, but in this moment, under the light of alien stars, humanity had shown the galaxy the true meaning of defiance. Echoes of victory. The aftermath of the battle hung in space like a surreal tableau. Debris from destroyed ships drifted silently, a somber monument to the cost of victory. Aboard the UES Defiant, Admiral Alina Reyes stood before the vast view screen, her face etched with a complex mixture of triumph and sorrow. "Status report," she ordered, her voice husky from hours of shouting commands. Captain Chen, her uniform singed and torn, consulted a datapad. "The Council fleet is in full retreat, Admiral. We've won the day, but—" She paused, swallowing hard. "Casualties are severe. We've lost nearly 40% of our combined forces." Reyes nodded grimly. Victory had come at a terrible price. And Earth, safe for now. The planetary shield held, thanks to our allies' upgrades, but several major cities took heavy damage from debris impacts. As if on cue, a transmission crackled to life. The haggard face of President Chen appeared on screen. "Admiral, on behalf of all humanity, I thank you and your forces for this miraculous victory. But I fear our troubles are far from over." Reyes raised an eyebrow. "How so, Madam President?" "Our long-range sensors are detecting massive fleet movements throughout Council space. It seems our victory has sparked widespread rebellion. The galaxy is erupting into chaos." The implications were staggering. What had begun as a desperate fight for survival had transformed into a galaxy-wide revolution. Humanity and their allies now stood at the epicenter of a cosmic upheaval. "There's more," the President continued. "We're receiving transmissions from dozens of species, all asking for our help, our leadership. They're calling us the liberators of the galaxy." Reyes felt the weight of this new responsibility settle on her shoulders. They had barely survived their own battle, and now the eyes of the galaxy were turning to them for guidance. "Admiral," Commander Zarthal's voice cut in, the alien's usual calm tinged with excitement. "My people are reporting similar events. Oppressed species everywhere are rising up, inspired by our victory. They seek to join our alliance." For a moment, Reyes allowed herself to marvel at the irony. The Council had sought to sacrifice humanity to preserve their power. Instead, they had catalyzed their own downfall and humanity's rise to prominence. "We need to act fast," Reyes said, her tactical mind already racing. "This power vacuum won't last long. If we don't step in to help stabilize these rebellions, we risk the galaxy descending into anarchy." Over the next few hours, the Allied leadership convened an emergency summit aboard the Defiant. Representatives from a dozen species crammed into the ship's conference room, the air buzzing with a mixture of languages and translator drones. "We stand at a crossroads," Reyes addressed the assembled aliens, her voice carrying the authority of hard-won victory. "The old order has crumbled, but what replaces it is up to us. We can't simply become the new council, imposing our will on others. We must forge a new path." The discussion that followed was heated, with each species bringing their own perspectives and priorities to the table. Some advocated for immediate military action to secure key systems. Others pushed for a more diplomatic approach, seeking to build a coalition of willing partners. As the debate raged, Dr. Tanaka quietly entered the room, making her way to Reyes' side. "Admiral, a word in private." In a corner of the conference room, the scientist's eyes shone with a mixture of excitement and trepidation. "The transdimensional technology we used in the battle, it's having some unexpected side effects. We're detecting ripples in the fabric of space-time, spreading outward from Earth." Reyes felt a chill run down her spine. "What kind of ripples?" "It's hard to say for certain, but it seems we may have accidentally created bridges to parallel universes. We're picking up signals, Admiral. Signals from other Earths." The implications were mind-boggling. In their desperate bid for survival, had they unknowingly opened doors to entirely new realities? The potential for both wonder and danger was immense. Before Reyes could fully process this information, Alarms blared throughout the ship. "Admiral, to the bridge immediately." Chen's voice rang out over the intercom. Racing to the command center, Reyes was met with a sight that defied belief. The main view screen showed a massive spatial anomaly forming at the edge of the solar system. As they watched, ships began to emerge, ships that bore a striking resemblance to human designs, yet were clearly more advanced. "We're being hailed," the communications officer reported, his voice shaking. The screen flickered, and Reyes found herself staring at herself, an older, battle-hardened version of Elena Reyes, wearing a uniform of unfamiliar design. "This is Fleet Admiral Reyes of the Trans-Universal Alliance," the doppelganger spoke, her voice eerily familiar yet different. "We detected your battle and your dimensional experiments. We're here to help and to warn you. The multiverse is a far more dangerous place than you can imagine, and you've just announced your presence to it." As the two Reyes locked eyes across dimensional barriers, the true scope of humanity's new reality began to sink in. They had not only reshaped their galaxy, but had also catapulted themselves onto a cosmic stage beyond their wildest imaginations. The Council's betrayal, meant to end humanity's story, had instead written the opening chapter of an epic that would span universes. As Reyes prepared to address this new development, she realized that their victory over the Council was just the beginning. The real adventure and the real challenges were only just beginning. Architects of Infinity. The UEA's Defiance conference room, once spacious, now felt cramped as it accommodated delegates from multiple universes. Admiral Elena Reyes sat at the head of the table, her mind still reeling from the events of the past few days. To her right sat her counterpart, the battle-hardened Fleet Admiral Reyes of the Trans-Universal Alliance. Around them, a kaleidoscope of alien races and alternate human civilizations filled every available space. "Let me get this straight," Elena began, her voice steady despite the surreal situation. "In your reality, humanity united the galaxy centuries ago." Her older self nodded. "We faced our own betrayal, much like you. But it came earlier and from a different quarter. It forged us into a force that reshaped not just our galaxy, but the very fabric of reality itself." The implications were staggering. Elena's gaze swept across the assembled delegates, noting the mix of awe and apprehension on their faces. Even Zarthel, usually unflappable, seemed overwhelmed by the scope of what they were facing. "And now," Elena continued, "by unlocking transdimensional technology, we've, what? Joined some sort of cosmic community." Fleet Admiral Reyes leaned forward, her expression grave. "More than that. You've announced your presence to forces beyond your comprehension. Some are benevolent, others." She trailed off, her eyes clouding with memories of unseen horrors. "Let's just say the Council might soon be the least of your worries." A murmur of unease rippled through the room. President Chen, joining via hologram, spoke up. "What exactly are we dealing with here? And more importantly, how do we protect our people?" "Interdimensional predators," a crystalline being from the Trans-Universal delegation chimed in, its voice resonating like wind chimes. "Entities that feed on entire realities. Civilizations that view parallel universes as resources to be exploited or conquered." The room fell silent as the weight of this revelation sank in. They had won their freedom from the Council, only to find themselves thrust onto an even larger, more dangerous stage. Elena felt the familiar pressure of leadership settling on her shoulders. She stood, drawing all eyes to her. "We do what humanity has always done. We adapt. We learn. We grow stronger." She turned to her counterpart. "Fleet Admiral, I believe we have much to learn from you and your alliance." Over the next several hours, plans were laid out. The Trans-Universal Alliance would provide mentorship and technology to help Elena's Earth defend itself against interdimensional threats. In return, this newborn human civilization would join the Alliance, bringing with it the fierce determination and innovative spirit that had allowed them to overthrow the Council. As the meeting progressed, Dr. Tanaka burst into the room, her eyes wild with excitement. "Admiral, you need to see this." She activated a holographic display in the center of the table. "We've been analyzing the trans-dimensional ripples. They're not just connecting us to other realities. They're changing us." The hologram showed a DNA strand, but it was unlike anything Alina had ever seen. It twisted and shifted, glowing with an otherworldly energy. "Our exposure to the trans-dimensional energies is accelerating our evolution," Tanaka explained. "We're becoming something more." Fleet Admiral Reyes nodded, unsurprised. "We've seen this before. It's the first step towards what we call cosmic ascendance. Your humanity is on the brink of transcending its physical limitations." The implications were both thrilling and terrifying. Alina looked around the room, seeing the mix of fear and wonder on the faces of her allies and crew. They had started this journey fighting for simple survival. Now they stood on the threshold of becoming something beyond their wildest imaginations. "So what happens now?" Zarthal asked, voicing the question on everyone's mind. Alina squared her shoulders, feeling the weight of history upon her. "Now we embrace our destiny. We've been forged in the crucible of betrayal and war. We've proven our worth not just to ourselves, but to the multiverse." She paused, making eye contact with each person in the room. "We will not cower in the face of these new challenges. We will meet them head-on, with the same courage and ingenuity that brought us this far." She turned to the holographic display of Earth, her voice swelling with determination. "We will rebuild our world, stronger than ever. We will extend the hand of friendship to those who seek alliance, and stand firm against any who would threaten us. We will explore the infinite possibilities of the multiverse, seeking knowledge and pushing the boundaries of what's possible." The room erupted in cheers, a cacophony of human and alien voices united in purpose. As the noise died down, Fleet Admiral Rice approached her younger self, a glimmer of pride in her eyes. "You're ready," she said simply. "The road ahead will be challenging, but I have no doubt you'll rise to the occasion. Welcome to the multiverse, Admiral Reyes." As the meeting adjourned and plans were set in motion, Alina found a quiet moment to herself by the Defiance observation deck. She gazed out at the stars, knowing that each point of light now represented not just distant suns, but gateways to entire universes of possibility. The Council's betrayal, meant to end humanity's journey, had instead launched them into an adventure beyond imagination. They had entered the galactic stage as underdogs, fought their way to victory against impossible odds, and now stood poised to become players on a cosmic scale. Alina Reyes, once a simple defender of Earth, now found herself the shepherd of humanity's ascension. As she watched her crew and allies preparing for the challenges ahead, she allowed herself a small smile. The Council had grossly underestimated humanity's potential. They would not be the last to make that mistake. With a deep breath, she turned away from the window, ready to face whatever the multiverse had in store. Humanity's story was far from over. In fact, she realized it was just beginning. The betrayal that was meant to be their end had become the prologue to their greatest chapter, and Alina Reyes, along with all of humanity, was ready to write that story across the stars and beyond, into the very fabric of reality itself.